Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth race of the second season of Masters of Assetto Corsa Competizione, organized by Formula Racing League, who are sponsored by SimGrid Racing. Today we are on the Nordschleife, and my name is Alex, and I welcome you to this race. We're still in the middle of qualifying, which was a 75 minutes session today. So actually every one of the drivers had a chance to go out on track and set a very good lap, a proper lap, a valid lap, which is very important for the Nordschleife because it doesn't give you a lot of chances to overtake. But before we are going into the qualifying session, I would like to take a look at the current standings with you. Today we have the pros, the Pro-Ams and the Am class on the same track, which now at the moment we have 46 cars on track at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of cars racing each other, 3 different classes that are racing in completely separate races actually. And you know what I forgot? I forgot to activate the game sound. So now I will also give you some game sound. Wonderful. Yeah, so let's head over to the standings for a second. If there's anything strange with the stream or something else, some questions you would like to ask, feel free to write in the chat and I will answer your questions. So for the standings, I will actually lower the game volume a little bit here. So for the standings, at the moment we have Grigory Ivanov in P1. After a lot of the disconnects we had last week, there are 2 drop rounds. So also now there are some drivers that only competed in the last race, and because they could drop the results of the first 2 races are basically now in leading positions or almost in leading positions, which makes it a little bit interesting. So we have Grigory Ivanov in P1 and Davy Hill right behind him with 1 point of a difference. Thomas Knoppek, who came into the last race and took the pole immediately and won the race. No, actually, he took the pole in the first turn of the race. Also now in P3 in the total standings with 66 points. Christoph Petersen, who was also incredibly quick in P2 with 60 points of the last race in P2, I'm sorry, in the standings in P4. We have Amir Seterash in P5, behind Nico Weltmann, who are still competing for this position, because on my spreadsheet that I have here, their positions are exchanged, if I see that correctly. But yeah, the calculation is a bit skewed at the moment because of these drop rounds. Behind in P7 we have Horacio Messina, behind him Strajinja Soranovic. In P8 we have Kenneth Reyes. In P9 Andrea Adone in P10. Also P9 and P10 are still competing for that position. We have Adam Modan in P11, Barry Gibbons in P12, Andrei Oreshkin in P13, Ben Milden in P14. And then we have Eric Latil in P15, P16 Melker Gardby, Fabio Galamini in P17. Michael Firth is at the moment in P18, but as far as I know, he had problems with his VR headset, so he's also not going to take part in this race. And for the rest here, we had Jake Deschamps taking part in the last race, and Ernest Limburgs was also there. All the others have withdrawn their registration. I'm sorry, my voice is not in the best shape today, but I hope it's still understandable. In the Pro-Am category, we have Sebastian Rübsam in P1, tightly followed by Joao Pedro Sodre and Tom Ferrier. Basically, this race can completely change the standing here. Also behind in P4, we have Nika Kopaleshvili with 60 points, Stu Rogers in P5, also with 60 points, then Luca Grinetti in P6, Denis Kimetto in P7, who I have seen for the first time in the last race, yes, correctly. Then we have Justin Posorski in P8, Rosario Pace in P9, Tubomoy Biswas in P10, Jeremy Gore in P11. Also, there, I think it was the same position the same situation last week. Those two have the exact same amount of points. Not, and there's this third one, Anno, but he withdrew his registration. Disqualified doesn't mean that that they actually got disqualified by race control or something. In some cases, yes, but in this case, I'm quite sure it means that he withdrew from the league or from the season. Then we have Jason Janssens in P13, Moset Rambi in P14, in P15 Peter Davidson, Volodymyr Kompaniet in P16, Simon Turner in P17, Jakub Drnka in P18, who I have seen for the first time in the last race, that was correct. And then the rest, Daniel Trambayo in P20, in P21, Aguedo Martinez, Václav Nosek was also taking part in the last race, and these two I haven't seen so far. Now for the AMs, who are the amateur drivers. AMs, I'm not 100% sure how to call them. I'm seeing them for the first time on the server because usually the Pro and the Pro M class are together on one server. So on P1 we have Marco Pizzuti. We have a favorite for every commentator, Nikos Papadimitriopoulos. I think that was good, fighting for P1 and P2. Behind, in P3 we have Tris Malino. In P4 we have Capimate, who I saw in the endurance race, the 12 hours endurance race last Saturday. In P5 we have Federico Amodeo. In P6 Quentin Robert. Ivan Bonucci in P7. Atul Baskar in P8. Alexander Peredels. I'm sorry for that. As I said, this is the first time that I'm seeing these names more regularly. In P10 we have Lee Roll. In P11 Durley Cole. In P12 Rafał Polkowski, yes. In P13 Karl Malm. Marco Baiocco in P14. Tom Brunel in P15. John Gilchrist in P16, Jonathan Sailing, I'm not 100% sure, in P17, P18, Lorenzo Cortini in P19, Gilbert Martin, Greg Louver in P10, P20, I'm sorry, in P21, Giovanni Gomez Rivera in P22, Geoffrey Ayres in P23, Fabian Bonnet, Bonnet maybe, in P24 Ben Beams, 25 Massimo Capelli, in P26 Gabriele Vergani, in P27 there's a lot of AM drivers, Alan Palmer, and the rest Justin Barnes has appeared in this season, all the others have not appeared. So now, after this incredible overview over the standings and me trying to read as many names correctly as I can, let's head over to the qualifying. And I'll give you another overview there in just a second. So first of all, I'm going to give you the best lap time at the moment. As you can see on the left side of your screen, there's Ivanov with 8 minutes, 6 seconds and 4. Behind him, Soranovic with, it's just a 10th of a gap of a difference in the lap times there. Both of them quite quick drivers, though Soranovic usually, I'm not 100% sure if he's running that much in the front. Usually, yeah, for the last 2 races he was in P5 at the end of the race, and I don't know where he started, but these are quite good results. So Saranovic at the moment in P2. Then we have Hill and Modan. Hill in P3 now going for another lap. We have 18 minutes left on the clock of this qualifying session. As I said, they were a bit longer than before. Today it is a bit longer than it was before. Usually it is only 24 minutes, but on the Nordschleife, if you already need like 10 minutes to start a valid lap, it kind of is it doesn't really make sense to give the drivers just one chance to put in a proper lap. So now what we will maybe see with Hill, what we should see with Hill, is that he's going to drive one round on the Grand Prix circuit, then take the Kurzanbindung onto the start and finish straight, and then start his actual valid lap of the Nordschleife. So from what I can see, we have Ivanov with an 8:06, and the last valid lap that is registered here is a 9:07, but I think the people are still working on them. Obviously, with this different amount of skill on the server, there will be some bigger gaps, but it kind of works out if the slower drivers start in the back. It's only a bit problematic if you have the pro drivers that have to start all the way in the back because for some reason they didn't manage to qualify at all, or they didn't manage to put in a valid lap. And yeah, that it's going to be interesting because usually on the Nordschleife there are places to overtake, but you have to be confident in yourself and also confident in the other driver, that you work together and not crash out, because I assume we are going to see at this race that there's a lot of places that you can just have one tire on the grass, and in the moment you have one tire on the grass, you're off into the barrier, and then you go to the pits and you sit there for a few minutes to repair the car. So I also know that Barry Gibbons will be watching. He said that he will be watching the stream to see all of these crashes. I have a bit of an issue with these crashes because the app that I'm using for the broadcast is constantly showing yellow flag for everybody because there is an issue with the server API and how it is used. So we will have to rely on the track map to see who got a yellow flag. Like for example, now I saw the number 16 had a yellow flag. Then I have to find the corresponding car, and then I have to go into the replay like this, and then maybe we will see. Yeah, he was sitting on the Quittelbacher Höhe, if I see that correctly. I will be using the German names for the track as well. Also because it is a bit strange to me to pronounce them in an English way, and it's just a bit easier for me. Maybe if we have the time during the race, I can explain a bit where these names come from. If I manage to remember, or if I manage to find the papers that I wrote it down. So, now enough of my blabbing around. Let's go into the proper window here to see who is still on a good lap. So we have Compagnettes at the moment with almost 2 seconds on the Delta, and it always takes ages until the people, ages, literally takes 8 minutes until the people bring in the valid lap, so there's always a lot of things that can happen in the meantime. So on the left side of your screen you can also see the different number plates. So everybody that has a white number plate is a pro driver. The gray drivers are the Pro-Am drivers, and the red drivers are the Am drivers. So these are the different categories of the drivers. So actually the only very surprising position here is Capi Mate, who is in P9 qualified in P9 at the moment with 8 minutes 15. Oreshkin in P10. Still at the very beginning of the lap heading into Hatzenbach. Now this section of the track is called the Quiddelbacher Höhe. And then coming up to Flugplatz, there's a little jump here that you can see there. Very, I mean, it is very scary in the car. Basically, the front tires lift off a little bit, but you still really have to take care what you do in that case. Then this flat out section through Schwedenkreuz. Also here coming up another very difficult part where you have to lift the throttle a little bit and then brake right into Arenberg. It is flat out, and I think there are some people that can take that little jump there flat out. It depends on the setup of the car, but usually I think for safety reasons most of the people lift a little bit there. Into Fuchsröhre here, the exit of Fuchsröhre, the curb that you just saw there, cannot be taken anymore because there have been some renovation works on it, and now it will destroy your car if you try to do that in real life, or at least your suspension there. Dangerous. Also one of the places that you see most of the fail videos on YouTube. Trying to find someone that will bring in that is on the end of his lap. So there's Janssens here heading into Galgenkopf. I know, heading for the small carousel. And then on to Döttinger Höhe, I'm sorry, where the cars reach speeds of up to 280 kilometers roughly. And there's a white flag car in front. So Janssens has an improvement of half a second on the clock. But yeah, if he manages to find a bit more time, it will put him in P23. Now through Antoniusbuche, down into Tiergarten, and into the Hohenrhein chicane that was put here originally to slow down the cars before coming up to the starting straight. So, and he is going to improve with half a second, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the position. Yeah, no, it was not an improvement of the time. So who else do we have here? Compagnettes coming over the line. That was an improvement of position. Compagnettes now in P21. We find out where Veltman is. Veltman is still going through Mutkurve. Coming up to Steilstrecke. There was a place here you could actually go a bit to the left and then straight up the hill. But they closed it like, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years ago. I don't have all the dates in my head. Into the Caracciola carousel. I think some of these concrete plates that you can see in the little carousel there are still the original track from somewhat. I mean, the track was constructed originally in 1927. So almost 100 years ago. It was opened in 1927 and they started the construction in 1925. And already the old Kaiser of Germany had the idea for this racetrack. Yeah, Wertmann with 2 seconds now coming into Brünchen, or other people call it YouTube corner because, yeah, obviously this is the corner where you see most of the YouTube videos from the Touristenfahrten. Up into Eiskurve. Eiskurve because it usually in a bit of a, in the bad weather, the track dries off there very slow because of the shadow of the trees. So you tend to lose the rear a little bit in accelerating up the hill there. Now coming up for the second jump, or the Nico Bellhoff? No, we're watching Nico Weltmann, but I think the guy was not called Nico Bellhoff. Wait, Stefan Bellhoff. I got a bit confused there. His name was Stefan Bellhoff, who held the track record for a very, very long time of 6 minutes 11. Let me see if I find that. It was broken now, this lap record, but it was standing for about 30 years, and the track is not really comparable, so technically it is still standing. Yeah, 6 minutes 11 seconds was in 1983, Stefan Bellhoff. I think it's worth mentioning. So we have 7 minutes of qualifying left. Nico Weltmann with almost 3 full seconds of improvement, and that would put him into P10 or P11 if I see that right. So now the times are actually getting down. I didn't see an improvement by Ivanov yet. It's still standing at Nico losing the rear a little bit there. The McLaren is also very difficult to drive on this track. 3 seconds 20, and it will be P6 for Nico Weltmann with 8 minutes 14. That was quicker than I expected, but in the Hohenrhein chicane he found another second. So we are going to look at Ivanov. I don't know where in the lap now. He's still in sector 2 with 1.5 seconds. Maybe we can jump back to him later. We have Adam Modan on Böttinger Höhe with 2 seconds of improvement. And that would put him into P3 with Davy Hillam in front of him. Yeah, 2.5 seconds. That should be P3. And it is P3 for Modan. Sebastian Rübsam, who's the current leader of the Pro-Ams, heading towards Geigenkopf through the Stefan Bellhoff S. I'm sorry, this is Brünchen. A bit wide on the exit of Brünchen there into Eiskurve, and now coming up for the first jump. Maybe we're gonna take a little look at the jump there from the passenger perspective. There's the jump. Usually you already touch the brakes a bit in the air, shift 1 gear down, and then slowly release the brakes. If you're too early with releasing the brakes, you can go off into the gravel there. Coming up to Geigenkopf now, that I mentioned before. Also quite difficult, the braking zone here, because you have to stay on the outside of the track and pull in for the Kleine Karussell. Schwalbenschwanz, sorry. This is Geigenkopf. Oh, wow. I'm already getting it. We're not even half an hour in, and I'm already getting confused with the corner names. So anyways, Rübsam with 3 seconds of improvement. That would put him into roughly P5, P6 in that area. So there's 3 minutes and 20 seconds left on the qualifying clock. We will see. I think a lot of the drivers are still scrambling to get out on one more valid lap, which then is going to take another 8 minutes. So Sebastian Rieb some 3 seconds 50. Yeah, and that should be P6. No, P5. Very good. Let's see, maybe he is going for another lap. Even though the tires are I mean, for me personally, in the second lap, you already feel the tires degrading. But once you make the full circle around the track, and you can actually take a lot of speed from Döttinger onto the starting straight, it is at least 1.5 seconds that you gain by that. If you manage to remember that you have to brake a bit earlier as well. So now we can jump back to Ivanov, who is just coming into the start-finish straight, and this is going to be another improvement of his lap time, so it's going to be an 8 minutes 4. Yeah, 8 minutes 4.8, and that seems to be a solid P1 for Ivanov. And then there's still Davy Hill on track behind. Let me take a look where he is. He's still in the second sector. This is the lowest place of the track. And Breitscheid out into X-Mühle. And here now is the people call it Lauda Links unofficially, because that's where Lauda crashed in another year that I don't really remember, but I have it written down somewhere. In 1976 is when Lauda crashed there. You know, if you cannot remember everything, then you can at least write it down somewhere. So we have Davy Hill coming up to Mutkover. Now he lost a second in the sector previously. It's called Mutkover or Forage Corner, because in most of the cars you can almost take it flat out, and it always feels a bit like, how far can I go lifting off the throttle before I crash into the wall at the end of the corner. Now in the simulation nothing happens, but in real life it is probably a lot more scary. I haven't driven it yet, so at least not in a GT3. So the qualifying session is over. And the people that can now, that are still on track, can finish the lap, but I don't think there's many people that can still go out or that are still on track. Michael, yeah, I know, I saw you in the Discord. It's a pity. I'm waiting for you here. I have you written down on my spreadsheet, so for the next race, you know. I'm expecting good results then also. But it's already, I have you marked down as with PC issues. Shout out to Ben Millen, yeah. Not on track at the moment, so I will not change to him, but he'll do fine. I mean, I'm very surprised about Kapi made in P11 as an M driver. So doesn't look like Davy Hill can improve on his lap time. Now we're gonna take a look at Nico Veltman. who has still found 2 seconds, but now maybe was a bit too quick for the carousel. That will cost him a bit of time. But there's still something strange with that. Honestly, not a big fan of the TV cameras here. It's very difficult to see where the drivers are at. So now this looks like coming up for Brünchen, but he has someone in front of him. Who does he have in front of him there? He lets him through. But that might actually cost him the time. Yeah, it was Eckering. Yeah, and that was unfortunately. I didn't see what exactly happened there. But that was the last chance to improve the position for Nico Veltman, who's now in P7. So Grinetti is still on track. And Martinez is still on track. So we have 4 more people. Actually, there's so many cars here. There's 47 cars on track right now. So there's still... But I think the lap is not valid of Grinetti. This is something we have to find out later. Palmer is still shown as a valid lap. One of the few Lexus, probably it is Lexi, actually. So yeah, as you can see on the left side of your screen, when I'm going to take a look at Grinetti again, you can see that the top 4 are the pro drivers. Then there's Rübsam and Kobalashvili, who are not in the same fight with those people. Then there's Veltman, Grinetti in P8, Adona and Messina, who are also pro drivers. Dodre, who is a Pro-Am driver in P11. Deschamps, also pro. Then there's Capi Mate, definitely P1 for the amateurs. And then there's Malino in P20, who is P2 for the amateurs. And Bonucci, who is in P23. Grinetti in P8 overall and in P3 for the Pro-Ams. I think he's one of the last people on track with a valid lap. It is going to be 45 cars finishing. The first lap is going to be incredibly clean. No crashes. No one returning to the pits. We'll see. We'll see. I guess it's going to be exciting. Want to take a look at the top speeds. Statistics. So the highest top speed is Tom Brunel with a 290 kilometers an hour in the Lexus. Interesting. Yeah, so all around 280, 284, 283. Now Grinetti coming up for the speed trap. Actually see if he has a time improvement. Last lap was a 8 minutes 14.2. So there's plenty of drivers in the 8 minutes 12 to 8 minutes 16 range. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers in the 8 minutes 15 range. That is P10 until P14. Oh, Grinetti crossing the line now. And that wasn't a valid lap. I saw that correctly. So I think that is qualifying almost done. There's Beredelski. Sorry. who's still coming up to Schwalbenschwanz, Swallow's Tail. Where he is right now is also very difficult braking zone, because it kind of, like, if you're a bit too much on the left side of the track falls off to the outside, and then you will lose the rear there. So you have to really use the camber on the inside of the right there, going into Swallow's Tail. Galgenkopf meaning the gallows head. If I'm not mistaken, it's a place where you hang people, you know. Some of the kings or people from the area used to hang the people in this corner. I mean, not literally in this corner, but... Yeah, I'm also unsure if this is a valid lap. Because as I said, the race control app is a bit all over the place today. I cannot see yellow flags, so I have to rely on the track map and then immediately spot the car number. And if we want to go for a replay, that might be a little bit difficult. So the last driver on the grid, Alexander Peredel, kick. Now crossing the line, and that is the session done. So the server is now reset, and we're gonna try to do a little grid walk. I'm quite sure I will not manage everybody. Also, I'm not too happy about this perspective. I think we'll actually go for the helicam this time. So we have Ivanov in P1. Zoranovic on the right side of the track, on the left side of the screen in P2. Adam Modan behind in P3. Davy Hill, the second car in the FRL livery there. Then we have in P5, we have Sebastian Rübsam in the BMW half-shaded green and half-shaded grey. And we have Kopaleshvili in the green Porsche there. We have Nico Weltmann in the FRL McLaren. We have Grinetti in the green Ford, and then we have three other Fords. We have Adona in the Ford with the same livery. I hope I will not confuse them later. We have Messina in P10. We have Sodre in P11, who is P4 of the Pro-Ams. We have Jacques Deschamps in P12. We have Capimate, the P1 of the amateurs. Now we're getting a bit, maybe let me change, yeah, this is nicer. So we have Capimate in the Ferrari on the far side of your screen now. Then we have Andrei Oreshkin in the BMW here in the front in P14. We have Jeremy Gore in P15. We have Eric Latiel in our only Lamborghini. I'm not sure if someone from the amateurs is driving a Lamborghini as well. We have Kenneth Reyes in P17. We have Rosario Pache, the third of the Fords with a green livery in P18. We have Chris Jones in P19. Then we have Dries Malino, the P2 of the amateurs. We have Ben Milden, the last driver of the pros at the moment, in P21. We have Compagnets in P22. We have Bonucci in P23. We have Dennis Kimetto in P24. Now it sounds like the front of the grid is starting up the cars. We don't have a warm-up lap here, so I will probably continue with Jason Janssens here in P25. And the last driver of the Pro-Ams is in P31. Ineto will apparently start from the pits. Yes, we have Martinez in P31. And then there is all the M drivers that I will not have the time to go over now, because I would like to see the race start by Ivanov and Zoranovic behind him, Modan and Hill. So, this is going to be exciting. I'm very sorry that I didn't manage to do this grid walk thing for the Pro-Ams. I'm very excited for this 90 minutes race this time on the Nordschleife. Probably one of the most famous racing tracks in the world. Wow. So for the start, we have 47 cars in the grid in 3 different classes. And we are heading onto the start-finish straight. And in any seconds, the cars will accelerate to 70 kilometers an hour. And on the left side, you have P1, and on the right side, you have Zoranovic in P2. And we are off. The clock is running. Let's see what happens on this 90 minutes on Nordschleife. For now, no big changes in the front of the grid. There was someone completely off on the inside of the track. I cannot see who it was at the moment. So, first 5 are settled. That looks good. There's the cones flying because they are on the ideal line. So there is a driver losing a lot of positions, but there's hell going on in my software here. Let's just take a look who's standing there. This is Massimo Capelli, another Ford driver. There's Jeremy Gore standing on the track as well. There's Gilbert Martin. We're gonna not go back to the crash for now. It seems like there were 3 cars off. So there seems to be a bigger crash in the back, or there was a bigger crash in the back. But as my software is glitched out, there's Pisuti losing 2 positions at the moment, or letting the AM drivers through. So Ivanov driving away already a little bit. Already after just the Grand Prix circuit, he's heading into Nordschleife now. Behind him is Zoranovic. Then a bit more of a tighter drain until Rübsam in P6. I'm not sure if he actually started there or if he lost a position. So let's take a look here. This is Rübsam moving through, and it is Modan losing positions. Yes, Modan in the McLaren standing on the side there, and everybody's passing him now. We're gonna take a little look into the replay. I hope 15 seconds is enough to see what happened there. No, he's just off the track. Happens. So, go back to here. Sebastian Rübsam, Kopaleshvili tight on the heels of Davy Hill. Now they are already coming up to Arenberg for the first time over that little jump that I mentioned earlier. Zoranovic and Hill both away, but there's Kopaleshvili hunting downhill. Behind you can see Rübsam in the BMW, then Veltman in the McLaren behind. Brinetti in the green Ford that you could just see now on the bottom of your screen, heading into Foxhole now. There's a lot of shuffling in the back of the grid. I'm gonna go take a look at Ben Milden here in P13, coming out of Foxhole at the moment. Kenneth Reyes behind Malino. Rybsam now lost the position to Veltman, but there is no sense fighting for it now, as they are in different classes. Kompaniets in Flugplatz behind Janssens into Metzgersfeld. We have the 29 car, no, the 247 car with the drive-through. That is Barnes. Reinetti just let Adone pass. Now Capimait is profiting from this, obviously. The leader of the M class. Janssens coming out of X-Mühle, that all the drivers coming out of X-Mühle now. There is Paredes kick into Lauda left, maybe going for the move and the switchback on the inside. At Bergwerk into Kesselchen at the long straight. Now let's see who got the proper exit there. Obviously the top speed of the cars here depends highly on the exit and Bergwerk. Now coming up to Mutkurve. Let's see if they sort themselves out, I'm sorry. That looks fairly good. So from what you can see on the right side of the track map, there is now two distinct groups forming, and as I understand it, it is the front group that is heading into Carousel now. And then there's a wide gap where I'm not sure if it was created through the crashes. But there is time to catch up. There's not much time to overtake. Nico Veltman now behind Kopaleshvili. Coming up to Grünchen for the first time. This is Wippermann. Oh, and that is Kopaleshvili that lost the car there. Loses 2 positions, and that will definitely, yeah, it costs him 2 positions. That is what I described earlier on the Nordschleife. You can just lose the car for a little bit, you end up in the barrier, and it's not that your race is over. In this case, I think it looks maybe like 10 seconds of damage, but it will impede your lap time in the end on the straight. Rybsam still hunting Nico. And now the gaps are already almost all above a second. There's Paredes behind Mitsuti, who is still holding on for this onto his position for this entire lap. Coming up into the second jump with the Nico Belov S. So things are sorted. This is something, I mean, they're not sorted, but the gaps are not as wide as I expected them to be. Let's see if Rybsam now manages to get a better exit onto the Tinger straight, and let's take a look at the interior camera. Cannot really see something. This is much nicer. We'll reduce the volume level a little bit. Oh, there's Adona also on the straight, overtaking Kopaleshvili. This is what I said earlier. Yeah, this is what I said earlier. Kopaleshvili had a crash there, so he is losing massive amounts of top speed on the straight. This was expected. So, but this is not going to be enough for Rybsam to make a move into T1. Anyways, there's no real sense in fighting there for Rübsam because he is the leader. He has to watch out that Adone doesn't close up to him, who is behind him. And he's a pro driver, so if Adone would go through, that means that Kopaleshvili, the green Porsche you can see on the screen there, would close up to Rübsam, and that would actually be a battle for points. So the drivers are now, the pro drivers are mostly on the GP circuit now already. Martin trying the move on roll, and there is a heavily damaged BMW. That must be Papadimitriopoulos. Yes. Who's probably coming into the pits for repairs now. So Quentin Roberts, they're fighting Davidson for P28. Luca Grinetti now passing. No, he doesn't pass Kopaleshvili into the chicane, but it's only a question of time until, yes, I'm not sure if Kopaleshvili actually let them through, but we'll see about that later. So Kopaleshvili now in P10, Grinetti in P10 in total, in P4 of the Pro-Ams. In the front there's Nico Weltmann, who managed to catch up a little bit to Davy Hill. Rübsam behind with 1.3 seconds of a gap. So I assume Rübsam will just try to stick to the pros there. Adone behind with 2.5 seconds. So we have the group of Cappy Maid, the leader of the AMS. Behind him we have Sodra. You can just see coming up there the black Ferrari. Is Sodra, P3 of the Pro-Ams, and Cappy Maid in front in the white Ferrari is the leader of the AMS. Oh, and he lost it, or did he get a bump from the back? No, it wasn't that close. Let's just go 15 seconds. I was just saying that he is the leader of the Pro-Ams. Yeah, and he went on the grass. On the grass in Arenberg, and this is what I mentioned earlier. One tire on the grass and your race is basically ruined. So let's see, there is Cappy Maid with a broken car, and behind him Kopaleshvili also with a broken car, and then there's Jake Deschamps with a car that is not broken, getting held up by these two cars. I'm not entirely sure if that is the safer choice to continue driving with a broken car like this, because you are braking in points that people don't expect. But returning to pits might actually cost you more time in total, but I don't really believe it in that case. And Zoranovic got passed by, he lost a massive amount of time there, and his car also looked broken. Maybe I'm gonna find something there. No, it must have been before. Sorry, Ivanov. Zoranovic went through, and Ivanov had a crash somewhere, at least by the looks of the car. Oh, we're still in the replay. Now we're in the live picture. Weltmann closing the gap to Hill. Both of them in the McLaren. I found the McLaren on this track quite scary, because it's not handling the curb and the bumpiness very well. You make one move and you're off. Jake Deschamps now still behind the two broken cars. So Kopaleshvili and Maid, both of them holding up the pack a little bit. To me that looks rather dangerous, to be honest. Yeah. It really is a pity that I cannot see the yellow flags at the moment. Yeah, Kopalashvili. And there is right before Mood Kurve, there is the BMW of Deschamps, no? Yeah, Deschamps. So 2 broken cars. Now we have 3 broken cars there, and there is someone else going into the wall. That is, I'm not sure who that was. Wow. So the midfield is quite rough today. So copy mate being passed, Milden through now in P12. I still wonder who that black, was it P2? No, there was a black McLaren in the crash there that before Mood Kurve. Unfortunately, I lost it now. It can also be that it was an issue with the liveries, or that he fell back so far he had to return to the pits, because I don't see it anymore. So yeah, Deschamps with a visibly damaged car, Oreshkin behind him in the red, in front of him in the red BMW. Ivanov now being passed by Rybsam as well, so apparently the damage to the car is quite... Yeah, he also has the warning lights on. So Ivanov for now looks like he's rolling back to the pits, and that makes Soranovic the leader of the race. Davy Hill in P2 behind him, Nico Veltman. The gap's closed there because they kind of had to figure out what to do with Ivanov. Was a yellow flag from the 62 car, but that is something from all the way back. So on Döttinger here we're going to take a look at Veltman here in the FLR livery. Hill in front of him, and then a 12 seconds gap to Soranovic. So if Soranovic plays that well and doesn't crash, then he might be able to win the race here. The pity I haven't seen what happened to Ivanov, but this is how it goes. So yeah, there you can see the group, Davy Hill in front, Nico Veltman in the middle, and Rybsam behind. Then there's a bit of a bigger gap to Adorno. Kopalashvili still with a damaged car, losing more positions now in P14. But it is going to be tricky now on the straight. Now maybe Malino. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars there tied together. 2 of them damaged. The blue BMW that we just saw leaving the screen, and the green Porsche by Kopalashvili. I think Kapi made now the leader of the M team is now not the leader of the M class anymore. He is in P4 now after his crash. Yeah, Ivanov is in the pits, and Sodre is also in the pits. I think, yes, Sodre was the obviously very damaged car there that we saw in shortly before Mood Kurve out of Klostertal into Mood Kurve. So a few of the drivers pitting now for repairs. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Sodre, Ivanov, Kopalashvili, Maid pitting now, and let's see where they end up. The gaps are getting bigger. There's still Alexander Peredelskik. I have to remember to pronounce it like this. I think it is the right way to say that. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. Who is the leader of the amateurs at the moment? Yeah, there's plenty of shuffling going on now that Ivanov pitted. It is going to be very interesting what the strategy is going to be, because I assume he's just going to take a lot of fuel now. There's still 1 hour and 12 minutes on the clock. So we are 20 minutes into the race. I think we're going for the 3rd lap now, right? Yes. Yeah, I guess we will see in the end how the tactic works out, but there is Peredelskik going through now, and De Jong with the broken BMW in the back. Yeah, I think in the worst case, there's an SG30. How is that called? A drive-through penalty. No, a stop and go penalty for Sodre. I assume he went into the pits too quick. Sodre at the moment in the pits still, getting the car repaired, but probably entered the pits too far. Kopaleshvili the same, so maybe the sign is missing there. Kopaleshvili, who just left the pits, has to come in again to stand there for 30 seconds. Yeah, Kompanietz on Flugplatz at the moment. Into Schwedenkreuz, but there's De Jong clipping in front of him. Clipping in and out of the game. I saw De Jong very late on the brakes there, but that was not the case. Kompanietz now trying to do no, he manages to overtake into Fuchsröhre. Some people also call it the compression because there's a lot of weight onto the suspension at the lowest point of this. Eckering behind Palmer. Two AM drivers battling for P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Sorry, I have to count them manually. As you can also see on the right side of your screen, the cars are starting to spread out a little bit more on the track, but you can still kind of see this distinctive gap between the front group and the M group. Let's see, number 11 in the back is Martin. Actually, I'm wrong. Tom Brunel is here in Verseifen. Yeah. He has a rather clean track ahead of him and behind him. Deschamps now lost the position, but there was also a lot of dust in the air, but I think it was the overtaking of Malino that passed him there, because I still think that the BMW is lacking a lot of top speed. This is what I assume from the crash. So maybe now it is time to go through the standings. So we have Soranovic in front, the leader of the race. Behind him with a 15 seconds gap, we have Davy Hill, tightly followed by Nico Weltmann into Wippermann right now. Then we have both of them coming up there, and then the BMW that just appeared is Sebastian Rübsam, the leader of the Pro-Ams. Behind him in P5 we have Andrea Adone with a 3 seconds gap. Then I'm not sure, let me check for a second. The car that is behind on your screen, the McLaren, the Ferrari there, is a lapped car. And then we have Grinetti, another Ford in P5. Behind him we have Rosario Pace in P7. Then there's a 11 seconds gap to Kenneth Race. Ben Milden moved up into P9 in total. That is a lot of positions won. Let me see. That is 12 positions won. Then behind him we have Andrei Oreshkin. Then we have the leader of the amateurs, Peredelskik. Yes, I pronounced that as good as I can. Also with 15 positions gained. Compagnets in P12. Was that an overtake there? No, it was an attempt for an overtake. So we might stay on these two for a little bit. Behind Compagnets is directly the P2 of the amateur class. Yeah, there he was. There you see him in the back of the screen. So if Compagnets manages to pass Peredelskik, then he will have Malino, the P2, directly behind him. So I think he is interested in staying ahead of Compagnets, even though they are not actually fighting for points. Yeah, Compagnets tucking into the slipstream there. And to be fair, yeah, Peredelskik lets him through as well. Then the red Porsche you could see behind there is the second position of the amateurs. Of the AM drivers, I think that sounds better than amateurs. Because still to be able to compete on this track at all, you need to be quite proficient in your driving skills. So Capimate is now out of the pits behind Martin. I wonder if they just filled the car up completely to manage to drive for 1 hour 4, but I don't think it is enough. Maybe depending on how much you can put into the car. Maybe let's take a little look at the passenger seat here. Oh, in the moment that he's crashing again. That is the Nordschleife for you right there. He was so close. He was so close behind Martin. So Capimate again with a broken car. So we're going to take a look at Roberts. Quentin Roberts. The 510 car. Coming into T1. Oh, there's the 22 car that just had a yellow flag or is still on track. And the 72 car. So maybe Gomes Rivera also had a yellow flag for sure. But it doesn't look like he has loads of damage. But it looks like a car normally looks after one lap here. So Capimate again on the tail of Martin, so Martin must have made a bit of a bigger mistake there. Otherwise I cannot explain myself how after the crash he can close the gap so quickly. And also manages to safely overtake there while Martin goes onto the grass a little bit, but also that is not too much of a problem. Oh. I constantly have to readjust the race, the game sound. So what's happening in the front? Quite big gaps. The closest is here, Oreshkin and Milden. So we're gonna take a look there. The 247 is still on track there as a slow car. But at the moment Oreshkin still getting closer. Maybe there was already a bit of a defensive line by Milden there. Now into Foxhole. During the construction site there was a fox hiding in one of the drainage pipes here, and the people that constructed the track at the time decided to call it Foxhole. It was supposed to be called differently before, but that name definitely stuck to it. So as far as I can see, I said we're not gonna lose a lot of drivers, but we started the race with 40. We started the race with 47 cars, and at the moment it looks like we only have 43 left. We'll stay with Oreshkin for a little bit. Actually, robots might be going for the overtake here into Vipperman. Oh, that wasn't Vipperman. Sorry. That was the exit of Foxhole. Now another high-speed section here up to Metzgersfeld. Very easy to lose the car if you really use the outside of the track completely. Now into Kallenhardt, the next section theoretically can be driven with full throttle the whole time, but it is usually better to lift a little bit now in the miss corner, and someone missed the apex right there. That was our only AMG on track, Beams, that lost the car there. You're supposed to hit one of the miss the first apex of this triple right, then hit the second apex and miss the third one. He missed all of them. Now Beams in P20. It can be that there was also a little touch by Palmer, but I don't really think so. I would have to go into the replay. Yeah, Oreshkin so far unable to close the gap more in this lap. Coming up to Hedwigshöhe now. It was named after the wife of the initiator of the track during construction works. He used to sit up here and watch the construction, so that's why it's called Hedwigshöhe. So now maybe this blue flag car might be the chance for Oreshkin to make the pass, or at least close the gap even more. Oh. Yeah. So that is Barnes. No, sorry, that's not Barnes. That is Lever, with Milden and Oreshkin right behind. Yeah, Lever's sticking to his line. Very difficult to find a place to pass with two of the BMWs right behind him. Now, yeah, this is Milden off track. But he manages. No, let's see. Wow, and Oreshkin goes through. Milden a bit on the offside, a bit off track there, but manages not to crash the car. That was actually, I want to see that again. Let's go to the passenger seat. So into the second jump, he lets him through on the outside of the grass. Into the bell of Estes. And that is Oreshkin passing him there. That was unfortunate. That was very unfortunate. Oh, I went into space there for a second. This is because I was looking at the relative. I was wondering why there are so many passes happening, but no, that was actually better there's kick passing Compagnet. I don't know what happened to Compagnet, but maybe a mistake on the exit of Töttinger Höhe, on the entry of Töttinger Höhe. Sorry, it's very difficult for me to switch between the German names and speaking English at the same time. Yeah, but Milden at least manages to keep a car that is not entirely broken from that off track. Yes, he lost the position, but the car is still intact, so Compagnet's now in the pits. Is it already time for the pit stops? Yeah, no, I'm not too sure about it. Car also looks clean, but I assume that it is. It doesn't look too bad. So I assume it might already be his proper pit stop. Now we've seen a lot of drivers pit quite early. Obviously due to damage, not because they were really motivated to do it or it was any kind of strategy. But for example, Ivanov is now in P21. Did his pit stop already in the last lap. We'll see how many people he actually manages to catch now. So let's try to remember he's in P21 right now. And then we'll also take a look. Yeah, he drove 8 minutes 12, which is significantly 20 seconds quicker than everybody in front of him until... No, not even the leader of the race at the moment. Zoranovic with 8 minutes 13 in the last lap. And Ivanov with 8 minutes 12. So there's a high chance that he is going to plow through the field now. But I don't think it is going to be enough for P1. And depending on what crash there was in the beginning, that might also be quite frustrating for him. I'm not sure if I actually saw it. There's so many things happening. Martin is in the Policia Local livery from Spain. Also making the move on Martin, who's not on the same point, so he's not technically making a move. It's just... he passed him. Jansen's behind Malino now. Malino, who is running P2 in the AMS. Behind him he has Pizzuti and Brunel. So there's still a lot of fighting and shuffling happening for the podium. For the podium of the Pro-Ams, there's Rübsam, Grinetti and Pace in P5, P6 and P7 respectively. That is the podium for the Pro-Am class. So Ivanov now behind Quentin Robert. Already sniffing the exhaust there. And I assume he is going to make a move now into Foxhole. And that is, since we looked at Ivanov for the last time, he already gained 3 positions, so he is moving rapidly. But now he has 20 seconds of free driving, but comparing the lap time to P17 at the end of the lap, he should have closed that gap. Davidson now also going through, I think. Someone had to go back to the pits or went... Yeah, no, he went into the pits. Roll went into the pits. There's a lot of Capelli with a drive-through. There's Beams with a stop-and-go penalty. There's also someone here. E40. Fortunately, you cannot see it on the screen. It's Barnes that also has some kind of penalty, but for some reason it won't show it to me at the moment. So anyways, Compagnettes passing Cole. No, Eckering, passing Eckering. There's something strange in my software at the moment. Or someone might have disconnected right now, because to me it shows Compagnettes in P20 and on the game screen it only shows him in P21, so who knows what's happening there. So I have no gaps under 1 second at the moment. After 40 minutes of racing. The grid has found an agreement where they want to be on track or where they have to be on track. And now let's see who can actually go a good pace and catch up places. So Soranovic in the front, already with a 19 seconds lead, so if he manages to drive that consistently, there is not much that can happen. Behind him is Nico Weltmann with the aforementioned 19 seconds gap. To the front in this case, Davy Hill with a 6 seconds gap. Behind Adone, the first of the port drivers. Now Sebastian Rübsam in P5. For a second in the position that he qualified in as well. Rinetti behind him with a 6 second gap, the P2 of the Pro-Ams. Adone and Pizzuti are coming into the pits. Pizzuti for some reason was shown in P5 for a second. So I assume there is something. There's still a bit of confusion with the race control app. So in 2 minutes we will also pass the half-an-hour mark, halfway mark of the race. So Cole has crashed. Maybe 30 seconds is too much. Yeah, you can see him in the exit of the 12 S's, and then maybe too much on the outside of the braking zone there. No, that was not it. Then it must have been on the exit of the small carousel. There was also Martinez behind him. Yeah, it's the exit of the small carousel. Got a bit of Oh, that was close. Hallelujah. I think that must have been the show in the repaired car now. That was incredibly close there. Barely managed to avoid crashing his car for the second time. Oh, Adone behind Janssens. We'll take a closer look at that. Yeah, Ivanov now with the quickest lap. Since we checked on him, he moved up to P16 from P21, so he's really plowing through the field there. Adone has pitted already, if I see that. And maybe let me see if I can get the timings to display something different. So this is the overall standing. Yeah, so that's the in the overall standing. It tells me that Adone is at P4, but my race control application says he is in P9, close behind Janssens, which is what we can see on the screen as well. And now he's passing Janssens, who is in a different class. As well. So Tom Brunel currently running in the P2 of the AM drivers, but that is without the pit stops. Now we just crossed the halfway mark of the race 30 seconds ago, so it kind of makes sense that everybody is coming in for the pits now. Depending on how much fuel they took for a lap, usually a lap takes about 14 liters, 15 liters, depending on the car that you're driving. I think the calculation was that it is going to be 10 laps in total or 11 laps in total. I'm not 100% sure on this because I don't have to drive it myself, so I don't do all these calculations. So out of Foxhole, there is a yellow flag at the moment. I couldn't see which car it is, but we're passing someone standing still there, and it was the car number, let's see. Yeah, it must have been the car number 133 here at the exit of Foxhole. Yes, it was Lee Roll who crashed on the exit of Foxhole. That's unfortunate. So, yeah, at the moment the standing Soranovic unchanged in P1, Nico Weltmann in P2. Not sure if I actually got the change there, but it must have been... Yeah, no, it was like this. Yeah, we're missing Ivanov, who's now in P12 at the moment. After everybody went... before everybody went to the pit stop, so still difficult to say where he is going to end up. Bigger gaps everywhere. Leader of the AMS is Peredelskik in the 44 car. This is Mutkova coming up here. Just lift the throttle a little bit, shift down one gear, and then jump on the throttle and don't hit the barrier there. Wonderful. Also, this little kink that is coming up here is flat out. Feels scary, but usually is flat out here. The track is moving a little bit to the outside as well, so very difficult to find the point that you can actually be on the throttle. Now coming up to the carousel, dropping into the carousel, trying not to fly out of it and also not trying to touch the bottom too much. Now coming up for Hohe 8, this is all flat out. Up to here, into Hedvigshöhe. Now let's see if we can see Wippermann shifting from left to right in this car. So in German, wippen means to swing, so we have this side 1 and we have this side 2, and that's why it is called Wippermann, as far as I understood this, yeah. But wippen in German means the car is bouncing, swinging, maybe. I'm not sure about the literal translation there. So Ivanov now in P12, I think there were also some pit stops that happened, and that's why he is currently running in P12 after we looked at him last time in P21. But still the quickest driver on the track with 8 minutes 11. Oh, Gilchrist is looking at the rear of Martin. The Porsche you can see there in front. As they drop down into Foxhole. Yeah, now Rybsam still staying out on track, and Veltman, Hill and Soranovic are pitting. Rybsam also pitting, sorry, he was just a bit further behind. But we are looking at this battle here between Gilchrist and Martin. Even though the gap is still fairly wide. And maybe it is more interesting. So Soranovic now left the pits in P1. Veltman is still standing in the pits. Behind him we can see Nico Veltman behind, who's staying in P2. Now Hill is also moving. So let's see on the statistics. Yeah, Veltman with a little bit of a longer pit stop of 2 seconds. But I think the gap is still 1 second, 1.2 seconds. That's close though. And now we can see how the whole field sorts after the pit stops, because now also Reyes, Oreshkin, Beredelskik and Janssens are in the pits. And this is Ivanov coming out in P7. I'm not sure if he still has to pit. I mean, I assume still has to pit again for fuel, because I assumed he just filled the car up completely and repaired the damage and now is driving through, but I'm not sure how much fuel actually fits into the car, and there's still 38 seconds left and he is already driving for he was in the pits 33 minutes ago, so that means 1 hour and 10 minutes. I'm not sure, maybe someone that is watching the stream right now has a better understanding of how much fuel fits into the car. David Hill and Veltman in Hatzenbach. Now coming up to Flugplatz here. It's not called, something I learned in the last days, it's not called Flugplatz because of the little jump here. It is called Flugplatz because in the section of the track that we see right now, there next to it there was a place where the people were starting their hang gliders. Not sure if hang gliders or glider planes, but that's why it's called Flugplatz and not because the car is flying a little bit, which is the literal translation German, the flying place. Yeah, it is a pity that I don't know if the completely full fuel tank will actually go on for 1 hour and 20 minutes here on the Nordschleife, because then Ivanov is in P7 right now, but I'm not sure. Tom Brunel I saw in the pits a while ago. Now after the pit stops is in P21, and that is P7. Yes, it is P7 of the Pro-Ams. But there's Deschamps again in the wall. Let's see what happens here if... Where's Deschamps? Oh. Can't find him anymore. So that looks like a quit to me. And we're looking at Tom right now. There's a bit of different information that you can see on the screen. For me, he is in P20, but on your screen you can see him in the P17, which is a bit confusing. Copymate, the former leader of the AMS, now in P18 and in P5 for the amateur class. In front we have, when we're looking at the Pro-Ams, we have Sebastian Rübsam in P1, Rinetti behind him with a 12 seconds gap. And then in P3 we have Rosario Pace. In P9 on the total grid we still have Peredelski. In P1 of the AMS, Quentin Roberts. In P2 of the AMS, and Dries Malino in P3. Copymate is directly behind Polkowski. Going into Kalahart now. Etzgersfeld and then Kalahart. Now it's again coming up the miss corner. So you miss this apex, and then you hit that apex, and then you miss the next one. Coming into Verseifen now, lowest part of the track. And then out into Brünchen, where there's a second entry / exit for ambulances, for example, on the track. And also the lowest part of the track. There's slippery corner here, and then out into Exmühle, trying to take a lot of speed out onto that torture straight into Lauda left, and then into Bergwerk. Important exit for the long Kesselchen and Klostertal. Full speed passage here on the left side. I don't really think, yeah, here on the left side in the years now, I think 2 years ago they cut down the trees on the left side, so you can actually see a bit further into Klostertal, because on this map you can still see the trees there that block your view a bit. Copymate had to brake a bit on the straight there. Not sure what exactly was happening there. I think he just got too close and there was no way to go for him. Which is a very common phenomenon on this track. You are quicker than the driver in front, but there's just no place to find I just saw a yellow flag there from the 524 car. And I'm going to investigate manually. That was Eckering. Yes. Ivanov still plowing through the field now in P7 at the moment behind Grinetti, but Capimate is closer to Polkowski at the moment, so we're going to stick with this. Coming into Hedvigshöhe now. Another full throttle section here, then we lift off a little bit to make the corner there. Into Wippermann. See the cars bouncing. Into Brünchen, the YouTube corner, where the entry is a bit very bouncy there. That's why you sometimes in the YouTube videos you see the cars losing the rear there. Into Eiskurve. Ice because it is quite slippery in the wet conditions. And that is Polkowski off. And now let's see if Mike manages to pass safely. Yes, he did. So now Polkowski is almost immediately under threat. Why Palmer? No, there's still a bit of space. So Grinetti was passed by Ivanov. They're not in the same class, so no reason to fight there. And especially on the GP circuit, there's still enough space to pass. So kind of makes sense. So Ivanov now in P7. With another very quick lap of 8 minutes 11. Almost exactly the lap before. Just a 10th slower. So Alan Palmer now behind Polkowski on Döttinger. Not sure if actually there's a nice shot of the Nürburg here on the TV cameras, but on the right side now, if you would be driving the car, you would see the Nürburg on the right side. That gave the name the track the name. Yeah, and Palmer managed to make the pass, if I saw that. Yeah, he did. Milden also closing the gap to Malino. In front, things are kind of sorted for now. Now let's see if Polkowski manages to actually stick to Palmer for a little bit. Now Palmer is slowly pulling away. Yeah, obviously, as it is such a long track, also the gaps tend to open wider and wider. Now, for example, Sebastian Rübsam just drove a 9 minutes 16. I think that was with a pit stop. And then behind him, yeah, that doesn't make sense because I looked at the wrong numbers. It was 8 minutes and 9 minutes, so it is completely irrelevant. But the last lap was now with the pit stops. But you can see that some of the drivers gain like 4 seconds or 5 seconds of a gap per lap. And that obviously generates bigger gaps and a bit more of a stretched out situation. Malino in the barrier there. And I think that was... Yeah, that looks like the miss corner. Not actually sure about the official name. Yeah, it's between Kalahard and Versailles, so now Jansen's directly behind Malino. That's the other thing. Then obviously if crashes happen, then the gaps rapidly close as well. Jansen is P5 of the Pro-Am drivers. So there's technically no reason to have a battle with Malino. Yeah, Malino also lets him through. Malino, who is the P2 of the amateurs, but with a very comfortable gap of 36 seconds behind. Yeah, in case you're wondering that there's that I say different positions, there seems to be a little bit of a glitch between what you see on screen and what I see. So what I've seen now is that Jansen's already passed Malino, and you will get an update of this in, I assume, the next seconds at some point. Yeah, and there's the update. So now Jansen's is P14 officially. Quentin Roberts, who we have seen a lot today behind Tom Brunel. There is the number 6 car that was in the grass. That was Capi made again with a yellow flag there. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. That is a very damaged car again. It is unfortunate. If you're really pushing on the limit on this track, there's a high chance that you crash, and then that is very frustrating. So it is really more about getting through the race and not crashing, and the result might actually be much better than if you drive super quick and then crash, and then you lose what, 1 minute, 2 minutes, however long it takes in the pits. So for example, I didn't notice that. I have to pay more attention to in what position the people are, because Nico Weltmann in P3, and I don't know how long that is like that and when Davy Hill passed, but I think this is also how they started, or at least similar to how they started. Let's look into the statistics. Davy Hill gained 2 positions and Nico Weltmann gained 4 positions. But I'm fairly certain that at some point Nico Weltmann was in front of Hill. Yeah, that's what I mean. But for example here, Davy Hill, his last lap was in 8 minutes 14, and The last lap of Nico Weltmann was in 8 minutes 12. So Hill generated 1 second, 2 seconds of a gap since the last lap. Rosario Pace managed to draw my attention to him because the gap to race is quite close on the GP circuit to the Goodyear corner. And now into the Michael Schumacher S. I already start to pronounce Schumacher in the wrong way because I'm speaking English as Schumacher. Compagnet's going into the pits now. Also with Rosario Pace and Kenneth Reyes, I think I have seen this this positioning for this fight already for a couple of times in the last 2 races, if I'm not mistaken. Even though they are in different classes, these two tend to end up in similar places, apparently. Now Tom Brunel with 11 seconds of a quicker lap in the last lap compared to Polkowski in front of him. So I assume there is still some pace left in him to actually make the overtake at some point on the track. Because technically also P3 should be in reach for him again if he manages to pass Polkowski. Now we should have this lap and 2 more laps on the clock, if I'm not mistaken in my calculations. I'm not the best at calculating this. But for now we're going back to Rosario Pace. This is already at the Vauxhall exit, so there's quite a big distance in between. I was just a bit confused about this jump on track that we did between P17, Brunel going for the overtake in Hatzenbach. Oh, on the outside line, very difficult, yeah. Pulls back for safety. And now Quentin Roberts behind also is getting involved in this. Because both of them lost plenty of time there. That is a blue flag car that is moving out of the way very nicely. Now all 3 of them heading into Flugplatz. Into Arenberg. Porsche pit on the grass there almost. For all 3 of them heading into Vauxhall now. That is going to be interesting. We're gonna drive with a Porsche for a second just because it looks very interesting, even though the Porsche is super loud. Also very difficult to slow down the car here properly. Now into Metzgersfeld. There's 16 minutes on the clock now. What happened there? Alright, that sounded like a technical issue. So we're gonna stay with Brunel for a second, but that looked to me like a wrong button press. Maybe the Porsche touched his ignition or something like that, because he stopped mid-corner for some reason. That is unfortunate for Quentin Robert. Barkowski with a bit of glitching there from the network connection apparently, or at least from my side. Now through Klostertal. Nico Weltmann in P3 is still behind Hill with a 2 seconds gap, so he managed to close it a little bit in the last lap, but still not enough to go for the overtake. We're still with Brunel dropping into the carousel. Also a very difficult corner here not to lose the rear, because you just tap the brakes lightly, but you kind of have to do it before you go over the crest. And if you do it too early and release too late and you're on the throttle too early, you know, there was a lot of things that I said. The rear of the car tends to step out a lot. Okay, Brunel has to go on the grass there. That was very, very close. But he managed to save the car and flash the light a bit, I assume in frustration, because he really has to get past Barkowski, because otherwise he's losing too much time. He's just... he goes through the inside. Oh, I don't know if there was a contact. Both of them stay on the track before the jump, so Brunel now with the chance. I don't know why someone was waving a blue flag there, but I don't think that... No, Barkowski was not on a different lap. I just thought that for a second. So Brunel now into P4 for the Pro-Ams with a 7 second gap. With a 7 seconds gap to the front, we are looking at Messina in the blue and white board there, that is gaining massive amounts of time to Quentin Roberts, who is in the M class and is now crashing. He almost took out Messina there. 1 second, that must have been very, very close. Maybe this 15, I hope this 15 seconds is enough. He glitched out. There was a network issue. Yeah, there we are. I think there are things happening with the server. No, I think it was just on my side. We had a massive disconnect last week. That's why I'm so worried. Rybsam let Ivanov through. Again, different classes, no sense in fighting. Ivanov now in P5 after starting in... again, now he was starting in P1. I remember that. And I'm fairly certain about it. After the massive crash, there's 11 minutes to go now, so I assume that it is going to be enough of fuel that Ivanov took there. So when he went into the pits to repair the car, he just filled the car up completely, maybe not even completely, and managed to drive through until now. Let's see. But I think that should be it. Coming up to a blue flag car that is Gomez Rivera. That does send Rübsam off into the barrier. No, not into the barrier, and I don't think it was because of the blue flag car. That was just the exit of Foxhole that was a bit Buchsröhre, that was a bit messed up. Yes, Pietro. Messina, who is currently in the pits, by the way. I'm not sure what happened there. Rosario Pache that fell back a little bit from Kenneth Race. At the moment, Nico Weltmann gained approximately half a second in the last lap. So it might get interesting there. If he manages to stick to that pace. So at the moment it looks like we have 37 cars still on track. So we are with Nico Weltmann, because the car that you can see in the Formula Racing League livery in front is Davy Hill. And Nico Weltmann has a 2 seconds gap to Hill. Half a second quicker on the last lap. We are in lap number 9. So yeah, it will be 11 laps precisely. Here you can see the cars jump. Oh, no problem. No problem. Full throttle solved that. Some things you can solve with full throttle. And there was just a... I think it was just a glitch. No. So I'm very interested in the new lap time now for Nico Weltmann. And for Davy Hill. It seems to me that they almost had exactly the same time. I think that Weltmann lost 2/10 again in this lap through the nasty bump at the chicane, at the Hohenrhein chicane. Yeah, and that was an 8 minutes 14.6 for Hill and 8 minutes 14.5 for Nico Veltman. Yeah, I think we lost another driver, but I'm not sure who it is, to be honest. There's a mismatch in the counting here between Milden and Janssens at the moment on my display. So Ivanov back in P4. Even though the one side of his car looks a little bit damaged again, but he was in P21 at some point after all his repairs and the pit stop. And now he's in P4. That is very impressive. But Zoranovic took the quickest lap from him with a 8 minutes 10.6. Also, Brunel doesn't really manage to close the gap to Palmer. It is still around 3 seconds. It got a bit shorter, but he is already inside. So Palmer is inside, and there is still one more lap to go. Yes, there should definitely be one more lap to go for everyone. If I'm not mistaken, Zoranovic now... Ooh, I'm always a bit confused about this. If the leader has, when the leader actually crosses the finish line. So Zoranovic has 3 minutes on the clock. There's 3 minutes 50 left. So that means he might cross the finish line after the timer ends, which makes this his last lap. We'll see. I'm not too sure about it, but I think it should be like this. So this should be the last lap for everybody that is behind the leader right now. I'm not sure about it. Don't... well, we have a German saying that says like, nagelt mich nicht fest. Basically means like, don't put a nail in it. Don't put a nail in me and what I said, because I'm definitely not sure. There's still a lot of things I have to learn. And Nico Veltman again. He closed the gap a little bit. Brunel now also with 1 second of improvement. But basically these are the fights that are that technically could happen still. There's P3 Nico Veltman versus P2 Davy Hill. Then there's Rosario Pace and Kenneth Reyes. Even though it seems like that Pace is quite content just staying behind here, because he is in P3 for the Pro-Ams. And then there's one fight that could still happen in P15 versus P14 in the total standing, or P4 versus P3 in the AMs. Brunel and Palmer. I think Palmer also feels the pressure now, because I think he lost a lot of time that lap already. See him there in front in the Formula Racing League livery, but with the same car, with the Lexus. Brunel being quite sufficient in the on the GP track, it seems like. Now a gap below 1 second. Just take a look at him there. Oh, that's the wrong one, sorry. That was Palmer here. So now heading into Hatzenbach through Sabine Schmidt's Kurve. I think then the corner name is new since 2 years maybe already. I think something like this. Before it was just T13 referring to the old stands there. So here you can see both of them very close together. Coming out to Flugplatz, the high-speed passage there. Gonna switch to the TV camera too, because they're a bit smoother and change picture quicker as well. Werdenkreuz now. Gap seems to increase a little bit. And yeah, the race clock is over now, 19 minutes. And we will have to see. The leader is on his final lap. And Veltman also close behind Hill there. There must have been a mistake by Hill. Let's see who is going where. And there's also a white flag being shown. Whoa, both of them off. That was dangerous. What the hell happened there? Aye, that was Roberts and Maid again. That was very dangerous. That was very, very dangerous. Yeah, but that might actually be... Oh, there was also a mistake by Hill now. So I'm gonna stick to Veltman now onto Döttinger Höhe. Gonna just jump quickly to Soranovic in a second. Because he is going to pass the finish line, and as I understand it, that is the end of the race. Yeah, there we see him celebrating. Oh, we're gonna see if something happens here. What the hell happened? What happened to Soranovic? Didn't he just finish the race? Okay, that was very strange. But Veltman looking for the overtake here into the chicane. Very, very tricky. Yeah, I cannot trust the race control at the moment. But that is Davy Hill in P2, Nico Veltman in P3. We're gonna jump back to Brunel. Oh, and he just lost the car on the curb there, up into Klostertal. Oh, how unfortunate. So that also solves the fight for P3 in the M class, I think. There's still Rosario Pace now for the last time heading into the small carousel. And also a bit tricky on the rear. It is difficult after such a long race to really keep the cars on the track because the tires are just giving in. Ivanov now also crossed the finish line. It should be P4, I think, because I have no idea what happened to Soranovic there. He was gone like right after he passed the finish line. Rübsam now also passed it in P5. Grinetti should be P6. At the moment, I'm very confused of the standings, but I'm just gonna say what I see in the software here. Grinetti in P6. Now crossing the finish line as P2 of the Pro-Ams. Kenneth Reyes as P4 of the Pros and P7 or 6. Behind him, Rosario Pace, who was stuck behind him for quite a long time, but did not manage to close the gap entirely. Good job there. Now we have Oreshkin still in the chicane, who also gained 5 positions. Crossing the finish line now. That is looks like P7. We have Peredesic, crossing the line in, well, P8. Sorry for that, but the winner of the M class, then Ben Milden, who also gained a lot of positions, actually 12 positions. Then we have Janssens coming in, P3 of the Pro-Ams. So there's Dries Malino, P2 of the M class, after 90 minutes of racing on the Nürburgring and 11 laps. Now Palmer, who is still on Döttinger Höhe. And in the back you can see Tom Brunel already, who unfortunately lost the car a little bit in the last lap. Otherwise this could have been P3 for him. We had Palmer in P3 of the M, Malino in P2. Now there's Polkowski. Horacio Messina at the moment standing in P13. There's still a couple of drivers on track. I think the overtime is going to be long enough to facilitate them coming back to the pits. But I can already see people leaving the server, so I will for now just already save the replay, just in case that it will not be available later. So we go here. And maybe I should have saved the replay in between as well, because it does not show the race start, for example. It is just for me, so I can maybe take a look at some situations again. I wasn't sure what happened. So we still have the Polizia Local car from Aguedo Martinez on track, and then there's a few others coming in, but the positions are not correct anymore. That is Aguedo Martinez. And the next one, actually the last cars, is the only AMG on the field. Coming up to Geigenkopf for the last time. It looks a little bit like a battle there. No, it is not, because this is Beams in P19. I'm not gonna say any positions anymore because they are just confused already. So behind the BMW is Papadimitropoulous, who's also crossing the finish line just now. There we are, and then we have 5 more guys on track. We have Turner, and I think that was, not sure who that was. We have Cole now also, and then Turner, Simon Turner, standing somewhere in the end of the track, getting passed by Eckering. I don't think it was for position. And then there is still Gilbert Martin. The last driver to come onto the Döttinger Höhe. And this is how 90 minutes on the Nürburgring end. 11 laps. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you the proper standings anymore and how many cars already finished the race because people left the servers already. But from what I can see, I will present the results to you for the next stream next week, which I will not do. To be fair, next week we will have Kialami on Thursdays, and I will not be there, unfortunately, because I'm off. I'm not in town, but I wish you the best of fun watching the race, and we will probably find a commentator for you. This we will find out next week. And with this, I thank you very much for tuning in and have a good evening.